today I am just going through some of the back catalog. We're trying to finish all of the map of the days from the past. It did all the there it is. Alright. If I remember, this was the one where you basically fly. Alright. Oh, good lord. Nah. Alright. Has one gimmick. Just don't stop. God. Sorry. Fucking shit dicks, dude. Oh, Lord. This is gonna drive me nuts, isn't it? I just need a little respect. All I want is for a little respect. Do, do, do. Do, do, do. Alright. Holy F, dude. I might have to come back to this one. This is not a short map. Oh, that was so much closer to what I wanted it to do. Damn it. Alright, we are getting the right idea. Kind of. That last... I don't know what that last one was. A lot of hooey is what it was. I'll tell you what. Some son bitch comes in here, eats my muffin cake. Hooey! Alright, I'm skipping that one. Skip, skip. Skip, skip, McGee. Unfortunate. I like mine. It's for a little respect. All I want's for a little respect. Oh, Major Pain, dude. One of the greatest. It's such a good movie. Such a good. Alright. Focus. That was bad. Oh god, I'm just gonna restart. Woo! Smooth criminal, brother. How are you, baby? Damn it. Come on. You okay, Nugget? Good boy. Good boy, baby. Happy with that dog. God damn it. Do what you love what you do. It's time to start living, folks. God, I love that. Tommy Plots, dude. If you don't know, he was known in the quad as the quad father in the bodybuilding community. Hell of a legacy. Tad bit sadistic, but you kind of have to be. You're gonna push your body into its absolute limit. Holy hell, that's fast metal timers. Okay. Man, Alright, Ben. Come on. Oh yeah, but Tommy Plots, man. I mean... even just for a life advice, that guy's great. You have to achieve failure. As soon as you can fail, you can win. He's got that gravelly voice. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, wow, I'm gonna have to come back to that one, because yeah, I'm not good enough to get that. Holy hell. Hell's horses. All I want is for a little respect. Do, do, do. Good map. I'll have to come back for the... I think the silver I could do. But we are just trying to rep out different maps. Let my brain see them, try and solve them, get the muscle memory, get out of there. It's the pumping and dumping of maps, as it were. You find a nice looking map, you take her home for the night, you put her in her place. Kidding. Show that map a good time. Slap her ass, tell her you'll call her in the morning. Don't call her in the morning. Move on. Next map. Holy Hannibal's. I am retarded. Wait, I'm not allowed to say that on Twitch. My bad. My bad. Don't leave me, bots. The only... And you know Twitch knows they're bots too. Yeah, there's no way. They just stay there. For a little respect, all I want is for a little respect. Dirt derby. Well, damn. One big crash, couple of releases. I think those are the biggest errors. Oh, that's... I'm gonna do that right now. Seems right. Moving on. What the fuck? I've never had Trackmania crash on me before. Oop. Oop-a-doop. Hell's horses. Da-da. All right. Oh. Oh, I am sore. The gym, man. Thank you, man. Woo! Just like that, dude. Call it tricks for Trackmania. You know what I was, yesterday? I watched videos of basically Caesar's entire civil war with Pompey. And it's fascinating. Because you can see like echoes of what their styles are in different people's strategy. Like, for example, Pompey, he loved attrition. which is a very effective strategy, especially if you can like, attrition is especially effective if you can disrupt supply lines. Like, it's winning a fight without even fighting. And it's an incredibly, like, it's a smart strategy. If you don't have to fight, why would you? You just win by outlasting your opponent. But Caesar's, his strategy is also incredibly interesting a lot of the time. Because politically, he was very focused on mercy. It's an incredibly effective tool where he would pardon people, especially his enemies, and he wouldn't execute people. It eventually led to his downfall, but it's such an effective political tool. Oh, I fucked up. I'm moving on. But also, Caesar's favorite method was also not based on attacking head-on. He would attack head-on, but his favorite method was just encirclement, where you just build better than them. You just build around them, and you trap them in. It's like, dude, that's awesome. Because you gotta think, if Pompey was very focused on logistics, Caesar was very focused on transportation, which are in the same vein, but slightly different. Because Caesar would, he would focus on building fortifications, building river crossings, and building entrenchments and camps. And it's also a way of just, like, I think the best way to describe it is you're creating your own environmental advantage, which is frankly genius. You really don't see that sort of thing. Especially not before then. In that quantity. Like, you might see people build encampments, but you wouldn't see, like, especially, I'm blanking on the name of the battle, but where he encircled an entire, I think it was essentially a city. He built fortifications all around, and then another army was coming, so he built walls around his other walls to defend from the outside. Like, what the ever-living fuckknuckle was that dude thinking? But it was also genius, because he built a fort around his enemy in order to protect himself from the outside enemy. And it's like, you gotta, like, massive respect. I don't think I can say he's my favorite, because there are a couple people who, they've really shone at that period of time. Obviously, you gotta give a lot of props to Hannibal. A hell of a maneuver. Plus one of my favorite things that I learned, this is a good channel, but one of my favorite things that I learned about Hannibal was that his dad tried the exact same tactic, but with ships. And his failed, but it's that echo. And whether or not his dad told him the strategy, which I'm sure they might have discussed his defeat. Well, certainly they did. That wouldn't make sense for two great tacticians such as themselves to not. But you see the father maybe develop this strategy, or at least utilize it and fail, and the son perfects it, where you really don't see many people who are capable of implementing that kind of strategy. And it's beautiful to watch people who are experts in their craft. And they have talented and loyal armies. Scipio Africanus, that's an obvious one. And his, like, if we're talking about unreplicatable strategies, yeah, his way of dealing with the elephants, oof, man. I mean, there's not a lot of people who could do that. Or repeat it, for that matter. I mean, Alexander and Caesar were two sides of the same coin. They really were. They were masters of manipulation. Like, you hear everything that Alexander did, and you see everything that Caesar did, and especially in the political life, they're very similar. Their strategies might not have been similar, but in fact, Pompey had more similar strategy to Alexander the Great. I think, if I remember correctly, Alexander the Great was a favorite of, like, Pompey loved Alexander. But Alexander, I think, is closer to Caesar in terms of politics, especially. The level of manipulating your allies to gain, especially troop manipulation. Now, I'm not saying it's right, but it works. It's very effective. Genghis Khan is an incredible strategist. I would say his talent lies in like the bigger strategy, like less on the battlefield. Although his on the battlefield plans were good, I'm not saying that they weren't. He's an incredible tactician, but that being said, I do think his real genius lies in what he could do for the mass, like, for big strategy. And that's, like, strategy of building a nation. And this is without looking at the morality of this. It's obviously some of the shit that he did was, I mean, burning entire towns to the ground. But here's the thing. That ended up saving, like, a lot of the cities, because the first city that resisted, he would burn to the ground. He would raze. But more so, I think even than that is his strategy of picking people who were good at their jobs. Like, he saw Chinese siege engineers, and he saw, like, siege works, and he was like, oh, I'm gonna incorporate that. I'm gonna get a corps of engineers. Very smart. He's like, oh, that motherfucker shot me with an arrow. I'm gonna hire him as essentially a general, because he knows who to target on the enemy field and is capable of targeting them, which makes him an invaluable resource to the person in charge. And I'm gonna be the person in charge of him. That's smart, man. And so that's where I would put his real genius. That and the steppes were always incredibly divided as a people. There were many different tribes. And as soon as you unite them under a common banner, the Khan, they are, before the advent of like tanks, yeah, I'd be hard pressed to pick any other group for success. You look at it, especially in that age of warfare, where if you know, I don't remember how much gunpowder. It certainly wasn't common gunpowder. I think it was, you know, I'd have to, my history at that point in time is very bad. But it's, to me, just there's no question. Horse archers, where you outrange most people, except siege weaponry and very, like, longbows. And you take that, and you add in the fact that they are mounted on horses that are fast. And they're lightly armored, so they can move faster than cataphracts and just shoot at them. And you have a deadly mobile force. It's much faster than any other force, because each soldier had a couple of horses, man. And you gotta think, it, in some ways it was very similar to Roman soldiers, where they would have a lot of their gear, and they could each hunt and forage. So you didn't have to have incredibly centralized logistics and division of getting food and water. It was very independent. And that means that not only do you have a faster army, not only do they outrange most people, they, on top of all of that, they have the additional advantage of taking less attrition, which is just stupid. And until gunpowder and actual guns and cannons, I mean, hell, even with cannons, I think you could still make an argument for the Huns. Well, not the Huns. I'm stupid. Genghis Khan. The Mongols. I apologize. I'm losing my mind. But it's just tremendous, man. Napoleon. And one of the problems is that strategy starts to become less important with certain advents in weapons technology, especially when fighting a technologically inferior person. It's not 100%, because obviously you can still win even without technological advantage. You can still make a hell of a dent. And if you have numbers. I mean, Second Opium War. In China, literally, it was a bunch of people with spears, swords, and shields versus dudes with guns. And China won. Because they had like 1 million troops. Like, it's not even close. And the British people, they only killed, I think they killed like 2,000 people. But the entire British army got wiped out. I think they had very few survivors. And it's like, yeah, I mean, if you throw enough bodies, it works. It just works, man. Oh, the Russians figured that out. The Soviets did, I should say. Yeah. Wild strategies. My personal favorites are the unconventional ones. Like, I love the fact that of how the Russians beat Napoleon. I love how they beat him. I love how the Romans beat Sulla. It's the same kind of strategy of just you're forcing the enemy to take massive amounts of attrition. Hell, I even have respect for a lot of the guerrilla fighter tactics. It's effective, man. You have high morale. You essentially just harass the enemy. You're never fighting in open combat, and it really takes a toll. It's an extension of the idea of attrition, and it's very decentralized, which is why I personally like it. I like decentralized networks of things. And decentralized defense is so genius to me. I'm not excited to try and get the medals for Chroma's Purgatory. I heard it's hard. What can I ramble on about? What other strategies are good? By the way, if you're new, I'm just going through a lot of the old Track of the Day maps, trying to get at least do them. And for most of them, I'm aiming for silver, but especially on the harder ones, I'm just looking to pass them for now. And then I'll happily take second looks at them. You're free to chat. If you're real. Probably just a lot of bots. I have no viewers, so I just tend to collect the... I assume they're data collecting bots. Could be wrong about that. And then I'm also just rambling about strategy in the past. I'm trying to think. What were some of the other... The Battle of... There was a battle in World War II of the Americans versus the Japanese where they took an island and the Americans pushed the Japanese back into a swamp, and that was not good because then the alligators started literally eating the Japanese soldiers, and I think only a handful made it out alive, or maybe none at all. But that is wild. I'm trying to think of the other ones. Alright, I'm gonna try to improve this once. The Vikings. Vikings are a very fascinating people. Just because they had also an incredible, successful enterprise of using raiding tactics, essentially. And then they converted it into a full-wide, I want to say pseudo-conquest of areas. But it's almost like a colonization effort by them. For a lot of the good pastures, good farmland. That's a hard, this is a hard map. Huh. I'm trying to think. What was that? There was a Greek sea battle versus the Persians. It's the less popular, because the most popular battle is the Battle of Thermopylae. The Battle of 300, right? It's obviously. But they were more successful in their stalling. Well, they won the naval battle versus the Persians, which was more devastating than Thermopylae. Thermopylae was just a roadblock, and in fact, it was kind of counted as a win for the Persians, because they killed the Spartan king, which is kind of an effective way to, for most places, if you want to end a war, you kill the enemy's king. Doesn't always stop it, but it does tend to have a dampening effect. Huh. I can't remember the name of that. Oh, the Islamic Empire had some good, the fact that they figured out that they couldn't do a lot of their conquests, because they started off their initial with a lot of initial success, if I remember correctly, but the Bedouins were just a thorn in their side until they converted them. And then the Bedouins were one of their strongest military assets. And the fact that it was a sweep across northern Africa after they converted, I don't know who they converted. They must have converted like a tribe or two, at least, if not all of them. Not all for sure, but like a majority. You get what I mean. That was tactically a smart idea. Some of the Crusades are interesting, strategically speaking. Okay. Are there any big ones that I'm missing? Any of my favorites? Oh! Yeah, in English history. I totally forgot. William the Conqueror. Longbowmen. Yeah. Attila the Hun. Capitalizing off of similar, some of the similar things that would later be capitalized on by Genghis Khan were used by Attila when he was raising hell across the broken and divided Roman Empire. Oh, the conquistadors versus the is it the Incas or the Aztecs? Fuck. I am rusty with that. But one of the more interesting aspects of their whole fight, I think, is the fact that it wasn't just an absolute cakewalk for the Spanish. It wasn't just like they walked in. Oh, Lord Nelson and his famous strategy. And then when he fought both the Spanish and French fleets, if I remember. And it was... He died almost immediately in that fight, actually. Which is wild to think of. Because his strategy ended up absolutely tearing apart both the Spanish and French fleets. But it's because he had his flagship take the brunt of the hits. Which is an honorable thing to do. If you are going to send people to their death, I respect you if you're on the front line and you're sharing in their risk. But it's a very bold strategy too. Takes a hell of a lot of balls to pull off. Man, I keep failing that part. Who were those? Why am I... This is bugging me. General MacArthur? Why am I blanking on his name? Yeah. One of Hitler's generals, actually. And he just... Rommel. Erwin Rommel. Little overrated, but still incredibly good tactician. Especially with his use of tanks. Very effective. Treated them very similarly to cavalry, actually. Which is a good use. Cavalry in some ways, and used them like battering rams, too. Just smash through defenses. Smart. Very effective implementation of the Blitzkrieg strategy. Trying to think. The Warring Kingdoms period. Ooh, some of the technology that was developed in Korea. It's very, very interesting. Like, they had turtle ships. Fascinating developments to when we had, like, it was a wooden ship that had, like, a metal case on top, and I think additional protection on the side. It was wild. Wild ship design. Who are some of the other ones? Why am I not able to think of That's gonna bug me, dude. Three Kingdoms period. Essentially Chinese Civil War, where many different factions were. Oh, that's a wild part of history. Don't know a lot of African history. I know very little Asian history too. That's gonna bug me. I'm gonna have to look that up after. What I do know, though, is this. Like, one lesson that keeps pounding out in a lot of the areas is morale. Morale is very important. Because you can have superior numbers. Nowadays, morale is still important. It's still vital, but and you see some of its effects in the actual fights, but more so you see it in how long people are willing to maintain a war. Like, how long are they willing to just bash themselves against that rock? And you can make up for some parts of it through training. Like, well-trained troops generally they're more resistant to those sorts of things. So morale problems. But even then, they're not as effective as just, this is my country, this is my land, these are my people. It is a good argument for a lot of people, let me tell you what. Let me tell you what. Man, I burnt myself out like French toast, dude. Ooh. Moving on. We're just finishing this, and then I'm gonna take a break. So I gotta start. Take a nap. Yikes. Good. Moving on. We. Oh. Oh. Nope, I'm not playing. I'm have more. I can get the medal later. Make it out alive. Make it out alive. Hello? Interesting. A Halloween themed dice room. Cool beans. Castellum? Okay, I already screwed this up so bad. Oh yay, grass. I should be happy because I need to work on my grass skills. That is understandable that I did that. Alright, cool. We're done. I'm tired. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.